this is hard to get into, but like I was just broken up with, and it's been hard because like you can sit there and you're like, what did I do wrong? Like what's wrong? Like not like what's wrong with me, but it really impacted my mental health because again, like I'm a hopeless romantic. I don't know when I'm not. I'm a very open and like outgoing person. Like I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories, but like to actually like let you in personally is very hard for me to do essentially. Because I don't know, like I don't want to be hurt. I'm very like protective of like my feelings. I'm a very sensitive person. Um, so I've been going through that. Like I was broken up with. We were almost together for a year. Um, so that's been hard.
So to get the wood, is that what
Yeah,
you're trying to find out?
yeah.
You just press triangle, and then it should be like one of the first options. You might have to scroll over like R1, L1 to like find what you're looking for specifically.
How do I lower myself? Oh, this is cool.
You just double tap X. We're gonna have a blue fire. It's a very blue kind of day too.
Yeah, it is. It's very gloomy.
There you go. Yeah.
Very cool.
Here. Boom. Okay, now we have to build Gianna. Gianna, do you like gold, diamond, or iron?
Gold.
Gold?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. There's Gianna. All right.
I feel like there's so much pressure being like a senior and like going into the real world. And on top of it, like all like classes and figuring out like what's gonna happen after college is like so much pressure. Like I feel like very overwhelmed between like trying to figure out jobs and what I'm gonna do, where I'm gonna live. And I feel like there's pressure to almost like have that perfect life as soon as you're out of college. And it's like almost like I don't even know what I want to do. High school, like senior year all over again. Because I feel like as a senior in high school, like you're applying for all these colleges and you are in such a short amount of time, you have to essentially figure out like what am I gonna do for the next 4 years that's gonna shape the rest of my life. And it's just like the same thing all over again. It's like there's so much pressure for that. Like the beginning of March, my roommate was applying for jobs and lining up everything, and she's moving down to Florida. And that's what it hit me. It's like, oh, I'm going into the real world. Like I should start applying for jobs too. Like I'm going on LinkedIn, I'm going on Indeed, like all over the place. And it's also like I can go anywhere in the country right now. Like I mean, despite COVID, but like I have the ability to move anywhere I want. And it's like such a scary but like free feeling. And I feel like too, like I kind of not take advantage, like for lack of better terms, but I forget like the world like really is like at my hands. Like I can wake up and make any decision. Like I don't have to stay home anymore. Like I'm graduating. I can move anywhere in the country, and it's a powerful feeling and it's a beautiful feeling, but it's like an overwhelming feeling that like I didn't think would come as soon as it did. Piggybacks off of like the saying like you can't like you want what you can't have. You know what I mean? And
Or
like
the grass is always greener on the other side.
exactly. And it's like it always seems so nice, and then like when you actually get there, it's like, oh, this isn't what I expected. Like it always like rainbows and butterflies look so great, and then like you get there and it's like, well, I have to pay bills. I have to pay for my rent. I have to pay for water and electricity, national grid bill, groceries. Everything's on my terms now, and it's like I don't know. Like I was actually supposed to go to Manhattan College. I had my like down deposit down and everything when I was that was where I was committed to go to college. I was originally going for pre-med. I had an internship my senior year. It was called New Visions program. I don't know if you're familiar with the New Visions program, but essentially you shadow doctors and nurses and every floor of the hospital for half of your day, and you do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then Tuesday, Thursdays you have curriculum, and you take college classes, but it counts for like high school credit. So I was like set, like I was like, I'm gonna become a doctor. This is what I'm doing. Like I'm meant to become a doctor or a nurse practitioner, but like I really wanted to become a psychiatrist. Like I love mental health. I'm a mental health advocate. I believe in all that stuff. I really wanted to help people in the mental health field. So that was my plan. So like applying for colleges, like I said, like NYU, all these like great schools. I was going for pre med. and I ended up choosing Manhattan College. I committed. I had my down deposit down, which was $900. It was very expensive. Um, and I had my orientation. I went for the weekend, spent the weekend there in like May. I had my roommates picked out. I had my schedule all set. Um, and about like in July, um, there was like some family issues going on, whatever. My mom got sick. So that's like when I found out. So she has scleroderma. So that's like when I found out about that. I was like, I don't think I'm ready to go to Manhattan College and pay 75, $80,000 a year, however much it was. And I don't even know what I want to do with my life. Is becoming a doctor like really what I want to do? So I actually withdrew from Manhattan College in the summer. My best friend since kindergarten actually goes to Utica College. So I went to visit him for Halloween that first semester, freshman year. And I came to Utica, and it's only an hour and 15 or 20 minutes from where I'm from. I'm from like 20 minutes from Albany. Um, and I visited Utica, and I was like, oh, like this is close to home, and like I can still see my family. Like I can go home on the weekends if I want to. And it's less expensive than Manhattan College was. And they have a nursing program. So out of the whim, and I had a boyfriend at the time who I was like kind of serious with, and like I feel like in relationships too, like I don't know, like love is blind. Like you think like, oh my God, this is great. Like I'm gonna be with you the rest of my life. So I was like, okay, like I'm planning my whole life around this relationship, which was so stupid and I was so naive. It's like I'm just gonna stay home, go to Maria College, and then I visited Utica and whatever. Me and him ended up breaking up. So out of the whim in December, I was like, I'm applying to Utica. I think that's also what's adding to like my stress too. Like on top of being in school, like I'm taking 6 upper level classes. I have 2 internships and like a job, and it's like it's hard. Like, dude, it's so hard to just be balanced and it's almost at the point too where like that was just like being broken up with was like the icing on the cake, where I was just like, I'm already overwhelmed, and now this is making me more overwhelmed, and it like made me like, and we're also in a pandemic too, and it made me just like shut down. Honestly, like for a while I couldn't. Like I was very sleepy and tired. I was like I almost had not like had no emotion, but like I just wasn't Alyssa. Like I'm a generally like a very happy, like happy go lucky girl. Um and there was a point where it was like I was very just like sad and like not really talking and just like tired all the time. Like I couldn't get out of bed. There was days where I would just lay in bed and like do nothing. And that's like kind of like where I'm at now. And it's like I was upset at first. Now I'm and like trust me, like I cried, I shed tears. Now I'm just like angry and kind of just like forced to put in a position for it to be like it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's like what's gonna make me happy? Am I gonna go to bed thinking, okay, I'm happy with this day? Like it's literally in your hands.
Will you ever actually be like mentally like satisfied with yourself? Is there ever a point in your life where it's like, I'm just okay?
I think so. I think it takes a lot of work. Like I know for me, my anxiety and depression, like I wasn't happy at all. And it took me like 5 years to get it under control. Like probably until like about like I was like 19 or 20. Because I got diagnosed at 15, and it got to the point where like it takes work. Like it was like me reading books, me writing in my journal, me going to therapy, me getting up and doing yoga and like forcing myself to like have like a productive happy day. And it's like it's all about like a mentality, and it's like you telling yourself like, okay, Alyssa, you're gonna make this a great day.
So basically, like my story stems back from like being a kid, like so birth order. I am the middle child, so middle child syndrome, and I have strict parents too. So it's like a very, I feel like it's established who I am now. So growing up, my brother, he's 3 years older, and he has a rare genetic disorder. I don't really know what it is, but when I was born and stuff, he would always have to go to therapies, he would have to go to doctors, surgeries he had, and I was just kind of the younger sibling that tagged along at that point. So I always had to get my grandparents to watch me if he was going in for surgery. Every Friday after school in elementary school, I would go to therapy and like sit in a therapy office and just like play with the toys or something that they had. I got a little sister, and she is 5 years younger than me, so a little bit of an age difference. But we're super close and stuff, and she actually has an autoimmune disease that she developed 5 years ago. So through that process, it's always been help my brother with whatever he has to deal with, and then my sister has to go to a bunch of doctors. We had to change our whole like dietary plans and stuff for my sister. So just like stuff like that, and like I'm considered quote unquote normal, I guess. Like I don't have any issues. So it just kind of I got overlooked on top of being the middle child. So I think I developed to be like a very independent person, putting other people's needs before my own, and realizing that like whatever I have going on isn't as big of a deal for me. I guess I always just like submiss my problems because I'm like, oh, there's people out there who are dying of this, there's people out there doing that. And I think that's like a downfall of mine because it's more of like a confidence thing. Like I don't think I am as worthy as I could be. So my parents are very strict, and being the oldest girl, I like wasn't allowed to go to sleepovers, wasn't allowed to do stuff like normal people would be able to do. Even in college, my parents think like all I do is go to class and come home. Like if I go anywhere outside of class and home, that's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. I thought you were going to school to just stay at school. Even this is everything I do in life. I feel like I always think of my parents. I'm like, well, what if my parents see this? What if my parents find this out or whatever? So like even just doing this like audio voice thing, the only thing I'm worried about is what if my parents hear this? Honestly, I think when I came to college, it really hit me that I was like, wait a second, like people, like kids my age are living totally separate lives. Like they could just call their parents and be like, oh yeah, I did this, did that. Where I have to literally like lie about the littlest things. It's like my dad found out I got gas at Stewart's. And he like yelled at me for it. He goes, you only go to Sunoco because you don't know what's in other people's gas and stuff. And it's like I get it because he's like worried, I guess, about my car, but it's like I shouldn't have to lie about where I get my gas. But ever since I came to college, I really don't like going home anymore, and I actually am trying to apply for internships like outside of my state. Like I applied in Myrtle Beach and stuff, and I like would really love to just live somewhere else for the summer because over the summer it's hard. Like I go to work, I can't go with friends. If I go with friends, it's still like I'm 15. Like where are you? What are you doing? Be home by 10:30. But I get very like lonely and sad in the summers. I just like hate being there. All my friends are in New York. I live in Pennsylvania, so it's like one of those things. So like I was able to like do stuff too. Like I played 3 sports. Like anything I want. Like my physical needs were met. If that makes sense. Like I always had food. Like so I'm very grateful in that aspect.
But like emotionally.
Yeah, but like emotionally, it was just kind of I got like skipped over, and I feel like a lot of middle children can relate. Maybe that's the other thing too. Like um I like can't talk to my parents like that. Like my parents are like my business coworkers. I feel like it's more like, hey, I need this XYZ. Okay, cool. Um like checking in, this is like a life update, doing my homework, that's it. Bye. Like nothing is like we don't talk emotionally ever. And yeah, like similar to that, like my mom like always thinks I'm like doing stuff that I'm not too. Like that's like another thing. It's like I used to like come home from work and she would be like asking if I'm high or whatever, and I've never smoked a day in my life, and I'm just like no, like why would you ask that? Like and then I like laugh because I think it's funny, and then she thinks like I'm high and she keeps questioning and prying, and I'm like I just don't know how to make her believe me. And then she just like dismisses and like downplays stuff, like doesn't really acknowledge the fact that emotionally I might be not okay. She's just like, oh, you're fine. Depression doesn't exist. Like this, that. One of those moms. I can't wait until I'm on my own insurance and financially stable enough to like pay for therapy and stuff like that. Because my parents, like, if I like went up to my parents and said, hey, like, I think I need a therapist, they would like totally just dismiss it and be like, then they would ask questions and like they would care, but at the same point they'd be like, yeah, you don't need a therapist. Like I think at one point like my mom even said, therapists tell you what you want to hear and then you pay money so you like get what you want or something. And that kind of is just like not accurate.
It took me so long to realize like it's okay to like not be okay. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel like this. And but it's hard because like I don't know, like I said, you don't want to disappoint your parents. You don't want them to think like you're not doing okay. I started going to therapy. I mean, this is like my personal story. I started going to therapy at 15. No, 16. Um, and at first, my anxiety was like so bad that like when I would drive to therapy, I'd have a panic attack like going to therapy and the thought of like talking to somebody else about like what I'm going through. And I would actually like, turn around like halfway through because like I would have a panic attack and like my anxiety was just like so bad. And then like once I got there, I was like, wow, like, and I actually forced myself to go. I was like, this is awesome. Like I said, it's an unbiased opinion. It's amazing. But then I kept my therapist through high school. And then when I got here, I started seeing the therapist on campus. There's such a capacity of students who need mental health resources on campus that she ended up like saying that she essentially didn't have time for me anymore and couldn't see me anymore. So I've been without a therapist since sophomore year. And I felt like lost, not like lost since then. Like I've like learned like coping mechanisms from previous like therapists, but I just felt like abandoned and like my issues aren't that important. But I've learned like communication is super important. And I've learned like don't feel like a burden. Um, just like openly just be like, yeah, like, dude, I'm having a bad day. Like, I'm going through this. Like, can I talk to you for a second? Like, open and honest communication is super important. Like, we should never have to minimize our feelings. Take ownership of like what's happening. Like, don't feel like you're bothering anybody. Like, if you're really not feeling okay, like, do whatever it takes. Be selfish. Do whatever it takes to make sure that you're doing okay.
I saw a meme that was like, the best comforting thing is hearing someone in your class say, I haven't started either. And it is. It's like one of those things like, oh, cool, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one struggling out here.